Hello, this is Edith Neumeyer, and I am the author of the book, The Mystery of Adam. I'm going to do I think it's part 9 of Revelation. I have decided to look at 17 next, or 17 and 18 I'm going to do next, but 17 because I talked about chapter 13 with the 2 beasts, and we really need to know more about this beast out of the earth, and we can only find out more if we go to 18. So really, chronologically, that chapter should come next. 14, 15, and 16 are just again repeating what we talked about the wrath of God. 14 talks about the bride of Christ in heaven, or on Mount Zion, which is heaven, New Jerusalem, and we will discuss that. And then 15 is introducing, of course, the wrath of God, which also does 14. At the end of the chapter, there is the last battle, Armageddon. And we also talked about that part. And we also talked about 16. So we're going to skip that for right now and go directly to Revelation 17, which looks at the beast closer. And we're going to look at what John saw on that beast. Okay? We know that in Daniel 7, Daniel saw something on top of the beast that John didn't see. John saw the 10 horns, but John did not see the little horn, right? So we're going to look at what John saw instead of the little horn. And they're really the same. The little horn and the beast, the Babylon the Great on top of the beast are the same. So, well, maybe we should go to Daniel 7 first to look at the little horn and to look at the description of that little horn. Because I think that's probably very important that we do look at that first, this description of this little horn. And then go back, and then go again to Revelation 13. Okay, so in Daniel 7, there are 4 beasts, and you can read the whole thing. Okay, there are 4 beasts. The last beast is very different. They're coming all out of the sea. Also, does the last beast comes out of the sea. Okay, and then the 4th beast is different. Okay. I'm just looking at the horns right now. In 8, it says, while I was thinking about the horns, there before me was another horn, a little one, which came up among them, and 3 of the first horns were uprooted before it. And this horn had eyes. Okay. So this is what we're talking about, this little horn. Then Daniel goes and describes this little horn. And I'm trying to find that where he is describing. He gave me the explanation, and that's in 23 of the 4th beast. Okay. Oh, well, So in verse 20, I also wanted to know about the 10 horns on its head and about the one other horn that came up before which 3 of them fell. The horn that looked more imposing than the others, that had eyes and a mouth, that spoke boastfully. As I watched, this horn was waging war against the holy people and defeating them, until the Ancient of Days came and pronounced judgment in favor of the holy people of the Most High. And the times came when they possessed the kingdom. Okay? So that's very important to know. So this is that little horn. It was boastful, and it waged war with with the saints. Okay? You can read the whole thing. There is more description of this little horn. But when we go to Daniel 11, we get another description of this little horn. And there it is called the king does as he pleases. Okay? He is there called a king. Now, reminding you that this little horn is a kingdom. Okay? A kingdom, just like the other horns are kingdoms. This kingdom is the smallest kingdom, but yet the most powerful kingdom, because it says, yeah, it's called little horn, but it is more powerful than the other horns. Okay? So it is a kingdom with many, many rulers. So in verse 11, and we're going all the way down, chapter 11 of Daniel gives you a chronological account of history from Darius the Mede all the way to our time. Okay? So in 36, it talks about this king who will do as he pleases. Again, king stands for the kingdom, not for one ruler. Okay? This spans a time of 2,500 years. Okay? Chapter 11 into chapter 12. So one king is not just one king. One king is a kingdom. So 36, the king will do as he pleases. He will exalt and magnify himself above every god, and will say unheard of things against the God of gods. Now this is the person that most likely Paul had in mind in 2 Thessalonians 2 when he wrote about the man of perdition or the man of sin. Okay? This is who he had in mind, which is also, we can compare the same thing to the little horn. Okay? So the man he will be successful until the time of wrath is complete. For that has been determined, must be taken place. So this ruler or this kingdom will be here until the end of the wrath of God. That's what it says here. Okay, so he's here right now. He has been here since the fall of the Roman Empire, or even before. Okay, because when those horns grew out, okay, think about a tooth. A tooth is still already there before it even comes out. Horn, is that the same with a horn? It's really there before it even comes out. Something to think. Okay, how far back did this king as he pleases exist, or this little horn? We know that Constantine founded the Roman Catholic Church. Therefore, he founded that when the beast, during even the Roman Empire. But when the Roman Empire crumbled and looked like it was dead, these horns came out and kept the beast alive. Okay? You can't explain it any other way. I know people are saying, well, how do you know it doesn't say that? No, it doesn't say that. It does not say that. But you have to think in terms of historically. What happened historically? And you have to compare it to this beast and how it developed. And there's no doubt that these horns came out on the fourth beast, which is the Roman Empire, kept the Roman Empire alive. 10 horns 10 kingdoms that came out of the Roman Empire. The little horn, which is really the smallest kingdom that was controlling, we can see this in a little bit, controlling everybody. Okay, everybody. Okay, so we need to understand that. Where is this coming from, this little horn? Because we have to go back in order to understand who Babylon the Great is. We don't go back and understand this. So, he will show no regard for the gods of his ancestors or for the one desired by women, nor will he regard any god, but will exalt himself above them all. Okay? Now, why is that the case? Because remember, the emperors, they appointed themselves the reincarnated sun god. They appointed themselves really above God. They made themselves to God, and this is what continued, of course, in papacy as well. Instead of them, he will honor a god of fortresses, a god unknown to his ancestors. He will honor with gold and silver, with precious stones and costly gifts. He will attack the mightiest fortress with the help of a foreign god, and will greatly honor those who acknowledge him. He will make them rulers over many people and will distribute the land at a price. Okay? Now you are saying, well, all those rulers, they were rulers in their own account. But no, every ruler in Europe was put in place by the Pope. Everyone, even Napoleon, was interested in the Pope crowning him. Napoleon, who at the end really put away with papacy and the Vatican. He was still interested in the Pope crowning him, making him officially an emperor. So all of them depended on the Pope's approval and putting them in power. That's why here's saying he will make them rulers over many people and will distribute the land at a price. What's the price? The price is they have to bow down to the Pope. That's the price. I will make you king if you bow down to me, and you will enforce my rules. That's the price. So now after we're seeing this, remember, this is who Paul had in mind in 2 Thessalonians 2. Not an antichrist, a one-man ruler. It's not what Paul had in mind. This is not, Paul didn't have in mind one-man ruler when he said he will set himself into the temple of God. It's very clearly a kingdom. He set himself into the temple of God. That's what Constantine did. He united all the churches and put himself in as the head of the church. What Jesus is supposed to take the place, or the Holy Spirit. And he put himself in that place. That's how the Roman Catholic Church started. Okay, so now we're going to go, finally, to Revelation. And we're going to go look at 17, and we're going to look what John sees sitting on this beast. Okay, remember, he did not see the little horn, but instead this little horn, he saw the whore, Babylon the Great. So here we go. Revelation 17. One of these 7 angels who had the 7 bowls came and said to me, "Come, I will show you the punishment of the great prostitute who sits by many waters." Who sits by many waters? Catholicism. Sits all over the world. With her, the kings of the earth committed adultery. How did they commit adultery? Isn't Catholicism Christianity? And they're worshiping God? No, they're not worshiping God. They're worshiping the ceremonies or the practices of the Roman Catholic Church, which are pagan practices. Okay, pagan practices. I mentioned this book in my last video, which is very good. 50 Years in the Church of Rome, a conversion of a priest, Charles Chiniquy, tells you exactly how wrong the Roman Catholic Church is, and its practices come straight out of paganism. Also, I'm recommending this book called The Two Babylons by Hislop, who trace back all the practices of the Roman Catholic Church to pagan worships, all the way back to Babylonia. It's building their practices, their beliefs on pagan gods that go all the way back to Nimrod and Babylon. But let's continue to read, because we will talk about that more later on. So they committed adultery because they worshipped false gods. Remember, I mentioned Constantine, who started the Roman Catholic Church, who never wanted to give up, never did give up his sun worship. He was a sun worshiper until he died. Some people said he was baptized on his deathbed. Nah, don't think so. Okay. Then the angel carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness. There I saw a woman sitting on a scarlet beast that was covered with blasphemous names, had 7 heads and 10 horns. That is the beast out of the sea that John saw. It's the Satan lookalike from chapter 12. Satan lookalike. Okay? So it's the beast. It doesn't say dragon, it says beast. But it looks like the dragon, remember? Of chapter 12. So compare those. So she's sitting on what? She's sitting on the beast that looks like the dragon, that gives the power of the dragon. The woman sits on it. The woman was dressed in purple and scarlet, and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. She had a golden cup in her hand, filled with abominable things and the filth of her adulteries. The name written on her forehead was Mystery of Babylon, the mother of all prostitutes. Okay? She is the mother. Some people think that this Babylon the Great is Judaism. No. This goes back all the way to Babylon. That's why her name is Babylon the Great, because these practices go back all the way to Babylon. And yes, Judaism, or the Hebrews, also committed adultery with the gods of Babylon. But that did not make them the mother of all harlots. Babylon is. And this religion was passed down through every beast. Okay? Through Persia, through Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome. Egypt, very strongly, Egypt was infiltrated, or it was affected by these gods. Okay, we can see that very much. I mean, Hislop did a great job showing all this. The Two Babylons is a very important book in this. So we can see that very clearly. She is dressed in purple and scarlet. Who is dressed? There is no other system in this world that is dressed with scarlet and purple. It's only papacy. Okay? The cardinals, the bishops, the priests are dressed in scarlet and purple. Okay? And they are wealthy. They're wealthy. Okay? You look at the Pope, he's wealthy. They have gold, silver, and precious stones. Okay? The name written on her forehead is Babylon the Great, the mother of prostitution. Okay? Or prostitutes. So yeah, the Hebrews prostituted too. I mean, they were little whores under this system. Okay? But They were not the mother. They were the daughters. Okay? They were the daughters. They were used by Babylon the Great. Whenever that was, during Babylonian time, during Persian time, they whored with these gods. But the gods were from Babylon. And they were passed down from kingdom to kingdom. And the kingdom became the keeper of this religion. We know that from Rome. They were the keeper of that religion at the time of Constantine, when he converted or made these pagan rituals look like they're Christian. And that's what they did eventually, the whole Roman Catholic Church, all the early fathers, like St. Augustine. Okay? They combined Christian ideas with pagan things, like the Greek philosophers. They brought in Greek philosophy and mixed it. That's what happened. I saw the woman was drunk with the blood of God's holy people. Is that true? Yes. Yes. Absolutely. They killed God's holy people because God's holy people spoke out against it. And so they killed them. They would not worship the emperor. So therefore they were killed. Because that's already started right then and there, that religion, that emperor cult. I am the top dog. I am a god, and people need to worship me. That's what Constantine did. That's what the emperors prior did. They were all incarnation of the sun god, and they believed they were God. And so they had to be worshipped. And if they did not get worshipped, the emperor didn't get worshipped, guess what? They were killed. It's the same cult, which culminated, of course, in the Catholic Church, continued in the Catholic Church, was pushed on the people by the Catholic Church until 1500 and passed. Okay? So I saw this woman drunk with the holy people, the blood of those who bore testimony to Jesus. When I saw her, I was greatly astonished. Then the angel said to me, "Why are you so astonished? I will explain to you the mystery of the woman and the beast she rides." She rides. Now, if you're riding a beast, you better make sure you have control of the beast, or you're going to fall. This woman on top is controlling the beast. Okay? It's not the other way around. The beast is not controlling the woman. The woman controls the beast. You know about beasts, a wild horse has to be controlled by the person who's riding it, or else he will fall off. And this woman just rides it. So she has control over the beast. Okay? So think about that. It's very important to understand that this woman, this Babylon the Great, rides the beast. It controls the beast. We saw that earlier, that little horn gives land out, okay? Awards kingdoms. So this is for a mind with wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 hills on which the woman sits. Now this becomes a little more mysterious now, okay? I haven't read some. I think I skipped some. It's real mysterious. 8. The beast which you saw once was, now is not, and yet will come up out of the abyss and go into its destruction. It's kind of strange. Okay, the Roman Empire is not anymore, but will come out of abyss again. Was that after Satan transformed this Roman Empire, into his likeness? Something to think about, which I have showed very clearly. That's what happened. Okay? Is that where the transformation happened? When it was not anymore the Roman Empire, but then it was again. It came out of the abyss because Satan transformed it and revived it. Okay? So read this and think about it. But then in 9 says, this calls for a mind with wisdom. So that means you're going to have to think a little bit here. You can't just read the Bible and say, well, the Bible doesn't say that. No, you're going to have to think. You're going to use the brain. You're going to have to think about what happened in history and compare it with what's written here. Okay? Because it's mystery. It's mysterious. The 7 hills are the 7 hills on which the 7 heads are 7 hills on which the mountain sits. So now he becomes symbolic. So this woman is sitting on 7 hills. Vatican is sitting on 7 hills. We know that it's the city on 7 hills. Okay, it's not Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not original Jerusalem. It's not built on 7 hills. I checked it out. Okay, I checked it out. No, the original Jerusalem is not built on 7 hills. No. Okay? Not so. I checked it out. I mean, today's Israel, maybe you can come up with 7 hills, but not the original Jerusalem. Because a lot of people say that. No, it is the Vatican. The Vatican, Rome, is built on 7 hills. Okay? So we know that this woman is sitting there. There are also 7 kings. See, now there are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other has not yet come. Kings, again, is kingdoms. It could be lineages like, I don't know, family kind of lineages. Because dividing the Roman Empire into 7 is a complete number. And, you know, it happens all the time that you divide things into 7s because 7 is a symbolic number. So 7 heads. This completion and I don't know, symbolic number. Okay, so but he's saying that 5 have fallen, 1 is right now. That's during John's time, and then 1 will still come. And the beast who once was and now is an 8th king. Belongs to the 7 and is going to the destruction. See, this is all riddle stuff. Find out who it is. But today, if we're looking back, we got the whole history in front of us and we can see who this person is or this system is. Okay? Then the angel said to me, the waters you saw where the prostitute sits are people, multitudes, nations, and languages. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute, okay, which is, I pulled it. Hold on, I need to. So, yeah, I was disturbed again, but we were at 16. The beast and the 10 horns you saw will hate the prostitute, okay. So the beast and the 10 horns, which is the political system, okay, the empire out of the sea, the Europe, Rome, Europe, with the 10 horns, that's Europe on top, they will hate the prostitute. Now, we already saw that during the Reformation, okay, when they started to hate prostitute and they try to break away from her. Okay, we saw that already, that already happened. And it continued. I said Napoleon actually wanted to be crowned by the Pope, but he then took him off. He took off the Pope. He took the power away from the Pope. So we saw that in all of European countries, the empire in Germany, the German Empire, German Emperor was Lutheran. So, and most countries in Europe went to Protestantism. I mean, France became really nothing. They don't believe in God overall, okay, overall. But they started to hate the Pope, okay? And yet the Pope continued to meddle in world affairs, okay? We saw then, because they started to hate the Pope, the prostitute. Now, I hope people understand why she's called a prostitute, right? Because she is following false religion. She is making people follow false religion. It's not Christianity what she's following. If you look at really the things of the Catholic Church, every one of them is false religion. It's founded in paganism. Okay, so you hope you understand that. So when these emperors, when not the kings, the rulers in Europe rebelled against the Pope, of course she had to look for a different place to get her support and her power. Because alone she can't do anything. She needs always the world political systems, the military power of the world political systems. She doesn't have a military, so she's using the military of the political systems in order to push through her power. Like when she persecuted the saints, she used the emperors or the kings' armies to persecute the saints. That's why the beast also has the blood of the saints on them. Okay, I hope you see that. When we read chapter 13 of Revelation, we see that the beast also persecuted the saints. But because they got the pressure from the Pope, okay? But eventually, these rulers hated the Pope because the Pope had controlled them. Okay? So we saw that already happening. But that may get even worse as we go into chapter 18 and the destruction of Babylon the Great. So, for God has put it into their hearts to accomplish his purpose by agreeing to hand over the beast their royal authority until God's words are fulfilled. The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. Okay, here at the end you can see it. It's the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. It's not Rome, it is the Vatican. Okay? The woman you saw is the great city that rules over the kings of the earth. It's the Vatican. It's not Rome either. It's the Vatican. The Vatican is a city-state, a city kingdom. It's a kingdom. It's the smallest kingdom. It's a city kingdom. And yet it's the most powerful kingdom in Europe, in the world. And it rules over the kings of the earth. That is a very important statement right there, people. Okay? So who rules over the kings of the earth? Now, we do not see that today as much as we did before the Reformation. It was obvious before the Reformation who rules over the kings of the earth. Very obvious. After the Reformation, papacy went underground. The Vatican went underground and pushed the religion. That's what they did here in the United States. Again, I want to remind you of this book. Okay, 50 Years in the Church of Rome by Charles Chiniquy. He described that very, very well, how Rome infiltrated into the second beast out of the earth and how it took over. So please, you need to go back and watch that movie or that that video again if you haven't done so. But I'm coming to an end, so you need to see all this in one thing. Okay, a continuation. I don't know why there was 14, 15, and 16 in between. And then, the description of this whore that sits on the beast. Because that's important. We're seeing that the whore is controlling the 10 horns, the kings of the earth. Okay? The whore, the woman, is controlling the beast. And that's what we need to put in mind. And then next time we will see really the destruction of the beast. I may wait until I talked about 14, 15, and 16. I'll think about it, what I'm going to do next. If I'm actually going back and do 14, 15, and 16, and then go to 18. Because 18 shows you how the prostitute is being destroyed. And that is happening, of course, at the end of the wrath of God. That is when the beast is being destroyed. Okay? So keep that in mind. But I believe that the 17 should have been with 13. So we can see this whole system that is existing today. It's not one man at the end during 7 years. It's not what it is. It's a lie. It's a lie that was made up by this whore, by the Vatican. And of course, the minions of the Vatican. I'm coming to an end. Read this again. I hope I made sense. I hope you can see who this Babylon the Great is. It's not Judaism. The city is not the great city, is the Vatican. It's not Jerusalem. Jerusalem is not the great city anymore. The Jerusalem has been desolate for almost 2,000 years. It's not the great city, even though people fought over it. But I'm coming to an end. Let the Holy Spirit guide you always.